Hello and welcome to another CF PowerScripts tutorial with me, Christian Rauchenwald. Now in today's video I'm going to show you how you can use CF PowerScripts to set up complete Facebook tracking on your funnels in ClickFunnels. So we are going to use multiple CF PowerScripts in your ClickFunnels account to basically set up complete tracking. That includes the regular Facebook pixel integration, setting up lead tracking, setting up full conversion tracking, including the tracking of your order bumps and OTO upsell and downsell funnel steps, and setting up custom events, like for example when a user starts typing in an input field, or when they click on a button, or when they open a pop-up. And last but not least, also setting up the Facebook's conversion API so that you have proper tracking even if the user prevents the tracking in his browser, either with an ad blocker or by using a specific browser that prevents tracking in general, like Brave browser, or because they're using, for example, iOS 14, which already makes tracking harder. And I want to point out straight away that some of the scripts that I'm going to show in this video are only part of our paid VIP subscription. You will have to decide for yourself if the time that CF PowerScript saves you with dealing with all the custom code that you would otherwise require is worth that monthly subscription or not. And one last thing before we get started, if you're watching this video currently in your CF PowerScripts account, you can click on the title of the video to open it on YouTube, and then you can use the chapters in the video description that you would only see if you watch it on YouTube to jump to specific sections of the video if you're only looking for the tutorial for a specific script that I'm including in this video. So I hope this makes sense. Don't forget, as always, if you have any questions, you can either leave them as a comment on YouTube, or you can use the support button in the bottom right corner of your CF PowerScripts account to reach out to our support. Now with that, let's jump right into it. As always, in order to get started, you will need to log into your CF PowerScripts account, as you can see here, and head to the PowerScripts section. And as you can see, I have a bunch of funnels here. Most of them are already enabled for CF PowerScripts. You notice that the title of the funnel is actually a link you can click on to go to the funnel steps and to the funnel pages and so on. However, at the bottom we also see some funnels that I'm not using right now with CF PowerScripts. So you want to make sure that the funnel that you want to add the tracking to is already enabled. If it's not, you can click on the button here. That button could also be orange and labeled refreshed, and you would have to click that one first, and then it would change to enabled. And once it says enable CF PowerScripts, you can click on that and just follow the instructions in that pop-up. Pay attention, however, to this part here in bold, because it's a common issue that users place our code snippet into the wrong tracking area, and that causes frustration for you and support effort for us. Anyway, let's close that and go back to setting up Facebook tracking. Now I'm going to pick my development funnel here, which currently contains 17 PowerScripts on lower levels, but those are all other non-Facebook tracking related PowerScripts. So I'm just going to click on the funnel, and it's going to load the funnel pages or funnel steps here. And as we can see, we have sales page, product launch, two-step order form, opt-in page, regular order form, upsell, downsell, order confirmation, and much more. The first thing we want to do is obviously set up our regular Facebook pixel. For that, we're going to scroll up, we're going to click on Add New, and in the filter, we can just enter Facebook, and we see a couple of Facebook PowerScripts, and we have to select the Facebook pixel PowerScript. As you can see here, this one is available on our free plan. So you simply click on the Facebook pixel PowerScript, and you'll get to this dialog here, where you see that you will need your Facebook pixel ID, which you can grab, for example, from the Events Manager within Facebook. Now I'm going to pick my test pixel here for that, and by just clicking on it and then clicking on the right here on pixel, which will copy it into the clipboard, heading back to CF PowerScripts and pasting it in here. If you want to configure multiple pixels for your funnel, you could just add them comma separated. So we just add a comma and my second pixel ID, third pixel ID, and so on, depending on how many pixels I have and want to use. However, in my case, I only have this one pixel, so I'll only enter that one. Which brings us to the next area, which would be the advanced matching section, which is something that if you would want to do that on your own in your funnel, you would need quite some custom code. It allows you to basically forward additional data to Facebook. For example, you can forward the email as email, the first name as first name, last name as last name, and so on. The reason why you're allowed to map those fields, so the phone field from ClickFunnels to whatever you want to tell Facebook it is because some of our users misuse certain fields. They may, for example, not use the state field anywhere, so they use it for a different purpose other than collecting the state. In my case, however, we're just going for a straightforward mapping, so city matches city, state matches state, zip, so postal code matches zip, and the last field we have here is country, where unfortunately ClickFunnels doesn't grant us the access to the actual billing country, but we have the shipping country available if you collect that information from your user. Now, what the advanced matching does is, if the user already provided that data either on a previous funnel step or on a funnel on the same domain, we will be able to grab that data. So for example, his email address that he entered during his last visit or on a previous funnel step, and forward it to Facebook. And based on that additional data, it becomes more likely that Facebook is able to map a user or a visitor on your funnel with a specific Facebook account on Facebook. Therefore, if you're, for example, using lookalike audiences that are based on previous visitors that performed certain actions, your ad campaigns or your audience should actually perform better than without the advanced matching. I want to point out that this is the official explanation how the advanced matching can help you and your audiences and therefore your ad campaigns. However, I haven't seen any data or studies that prove or disprove that statement. So it's up to you to decide if you want to set up advanced matching or not. If you don't want to use it, you can simply set all the fields to no mapping and no advanced matching will happen. Now with that, we go back to CF PowerScripts, and the last thing we'll have to do here is simply click on Add Script to add that script to our funnel. Now in order to test if our Facebook pixel has been added properly, I'll actually have to switch browsers because I'm currently using Brave browser, which prevents any kind of pixel-based tracking. So we're going to switch into the regular Google Chrome, and I'm going to drag it up here. And there we go. Now we can click on the sales page shortcut here, for example, copy the live funnel step URL by right-clicking on the button and copy link address, and head to our Facebook's event manager, where we have the test pixel still selected, and go to the test event section. Now I can paste the URL in here and click open website. And we can see in the Facebook Pixel Helper Chrome extension that we have the page view event, and we should also be able to see it here within a couple of seconds once the page is actually fully loaded. And here we go. So we see the page view event, we see that it comes from the browser and that it's from a manual setup. Now there's one last thing I want to point out here. The moment you add our Facebook Pixel PowerScript in here, you obviously should remove any Facebook Pixel code that you have on your funnel manually. So if you put some Facebook Pixel code into your funnel settings, you would need to remove that. Otherwise, you would basically include the Facebook Pixel code twice. And that would be especially important if you, for example, have custom code on your funnel for lead, purchase, subscribe, or start trial events. You would need to remove them as well, because as we proceed through this video, we will also set up the conversion tracking here. And especially if we include the conversions API, so to have server-side tracking and not only tracking from the browser, which can be prevented by the user or the operating system or browser that he's using. If you then still have custom code that triggers the same events, you will receive diagnostic errors and it may screw up your audiences in Facebook. Besides that, there is one other thing that you definitely should check, and that is within the Events Manager. When you go to Settings and then scroll down to the Event Setup and then open the Event Setup tool, and again enter the URL of the page that you're looking at, and you should do this for all your funnel steps. Click on Open Website, and then in the new tab where you see the Facebook Event Setup tool, go to All Events and make sure that you don't have any subscribe, lead, purchase, or start trial events set up here that trigger based on URL or based on button clicks, because again, those events would not receive an event ID and it would screw up your tracking the moment you add the conversion tracking add-on. So in my case, I still have an old event here that was set up for even an old domain, which in that case has really nothing to do here. So I'm going to delete it and finish the setup. And we're going to click Finish here to get rid of this event. Now you want to make sure that you obviously only remove the events that are on this funnel step. And again, you only have to remove any lead, purchase, subscribe, or start trial events. Every other event like initiate checkout or add to cart or something like that, you can keep set up like this if you want. But likely throughout this video, you will see that you have better options to do that with CF PowerScript. Now I'm just going to confirm that here. I'm happy. Do not ask me again. Submit. Thank you, done, and we can close that tab and go back to CF PowerScripts. Now the next script we're going to set up is the Facebook lead tracking, so that every time a user opts in on your opt-in pages or submits the first step of your two-step order form, so basically goes to the second step with the payment method, it will trigger the lead event. For that, within CF PowerScripts, the first thing you'll need to make sure, if you just jump to this part of the video, that you have the Facebook Pixel PowerScript in place. And then you can simply click on Add New, search for Facebook again, and you will find the Facebook Lead Tracking PowerScript. Now notice this script here is also available for free and doesn't require our VIP subscription. However, if you also want to use the Facebook's conversion API to make sure your lead events are also tracked server-side when the user prevents it in the browser, then you would require a paid VIP subscription. In that case, for now, we just continue with the free script and the setup here by clicking on Facebook lead tracking. Now, as you can see here, we don't need to enter any pixel ID. We just have two settings: value-based tracking, yes or no, and the currency. For those of you who are wondering what value-based tracking is for, if you're familiar with Facebook lookalike audiences, you know that you can only create an audience based on an event that contains a value. So for example, a purchase or subscribe event would work well for that. However, if your funnel is basically just a lead generation funnel, so you don't have any purchases or subscribe events there, you would not be able to create a lookalike audience by default, because by default the Facebook lead event does not contain a value. The solution to this is enabling the value-based tracking. In that case, whenever a lead event is triggered, it will be tracked with a value of 1 cent in whichever currency you selected in the drop-down below. This way, you will be able to create lookalike audiences based on users similar to those that actually opted in on your lead generation funnel, which obviously should improve your campaign's results. So in this case, I'm going to select yes for value-based tracking and set the currency to US dollar. This currency should match the currency of your Facebook advertising account. And if your currency is missing in the drop-down, simply click on the Ask Us link below. That will open our leave a message or ticket pop-up and let me know which currency you need, and we will add it within 24 hours to the selection. In that case, right now, we don't want to leave a message. We're going to close that and simply click on Add Script to add the next Power Script to our funnel. Now, obviously, we want to test that as well, so we're going to click on the shortcut next to the opt-in page, copy the live funnel step URL, go to the event manager, go back to test events, and here we're just going to clear the activity and enter the new URL for the opt-in page and click on Open Website. Now we can see here that again it triggered the page view event, and I already have pre-filled data because I previously visited that funnel. So I can now just click on opt-in, and in the browser we might not be fast enough to notice it, or in this case we are. It triggers the lead event with a value of $0.01 US, and you can see that the advanced matching also forwarded things like phone number, email, city, and other parameters that I previously filled in when I already submitted this order form. For a new user that just opted in, this would just contain the email because no other data is yet known of that user. Now to confirm that, we can go to the Events Manager, and here we see our initial page view event of the opt-in page. We see the lead event, and we see here as well that it comes with a value of $1, allowing you to use that event in your lookalike audiences. And we can see the page view event for the order form, which is the funnel step after that opt-in page. Now, in addition to the opt-in page, we can also test our two-step order form. And here I'm just going to click again on the shortcut, copy the live funnel step URL, and go back to the Events Manager. Again, clear the activity and paste the URL in here, open the page. Also going to close the old tab, and we can see that we're now in the two-step order form. There are a few fields asked, but I already entered a space in all of them, so I just have to select some country here and click on Go to Step 2. And as you can see here, it again triggers the lead event with a value of $1. And in the Events Manager, we again can see the page view event for our two-step order form and the lead event that fired the moment I clicked on Go to Step number 2. Just like before, it also comes with the value of $1, so we could use it in a lookalike audience. And with that, we head back to CF PowerScripts, And we can close that pop-up and proceed with setting up the next part of our tracking. Now, before we jump to the actual conversion tracking, there is one other thing we want to set up, or I want to show you how you can set it up, and that is the Facebook custom events tracking. For that, again, we're going to click on Add New. We search for Facebook. We select Custom Events here. And as you can see, this Power Script is part of our VIP subscription. So if you're on the free plan, you won't be able to use this unless you upgrade and start your subscription. So I'm going to click on it, and you can see that again, we have a couple of settings here. First of all, we can define an event for whenever a user opens a pop-up, and we can define an event for whenever a user starts typing in a form. Therefore, it makes sense when we add the script like now to the entire funnel to set both of these to do not track. We can set this to yes or no, it's irrelevant then, and set our currency and click on Add Script. Now, you might be wondering why we set that to do not track when it's at the entire funnel level, because we don't want to track an input on every funnel step. However, this script also provides us with a neat feature that we can use title tags to trigger specific events. So for example, if I open up this sales page here, copy link address, I'm just going to open it up here, and then go and open that in the Facebook page editor, we can, for example, based on the information of the Facebook custom events Power Script, use this title tag here, so CFPS -FB -track -event name, and for example, modify this button by going to the settings, going to the Get CSS info in the bottom right corner, and as you see here, it's already set up, for example, CFPS -FB -track -initiate checkout. This means when a user will click on that button, it will fire the initiate checkout event. As an alternative, we could also say CFBS -FB -track -VB for value-based minus the event name. In this case, it would trigger the initiate checkout event, but it would also trigger it value-based, again with a value of $1 depending on the currency that we've selected here. Now, back here to the page, I'm not going to save this, so it's going to be like this. I'm just going to fire the initiate checkout event. So when we now go again to the page where it was already set up, the moment I click on this button here, we can see that we have the initiate checkout event trigger here. Again, in that case with the advanced matching parameters, but without a currency. We should also be able to see that event in the events manager here. Again, just the event fired, but without any currency in this case. And we can also see the events matching parameters here. Now, one crucial thing here is you can use any event name without spaces and also custom events like button click A, for example, and they will work and show up in your Facebook Events Manager. And if you track them value-based by adding the -VB before the event name, it will track it with a value of $1, and you can then create lookalike audiences based on this. However, one crucial aspect is you cannot use lead or purchase or subscribe or start trial here, because if you use those event names here, it would cause issues with the Facebook's conversion API. But for every other custom event you want to use, that works just fine. Now, on top of that, if we head back to CF Power Scripts, as mentioned, we have a setting for open pop-up and a setting for data input. I'm going to just show you the data input real quick. The open pop-up pretty much works the same. It requires a button that is set to open the pop-up, and it would then trigger whichever event you configured here. Now, as mentioned, you don't want to have this set up globally for the entire funnel. That's why we set it here to do not track. But let's say, for example, on our order form funnel step, we want to trigger initiate checkout as soon as a user starts typing. So we go to the order form and click on Add New. Again, look for Facebook custom events. And here we say for data input, we want to track it as initiate checkout, value-based in US dollars, but we don't want to track the pop-up event here. We click on Add Script. And when we now open this funnel step, again, I'm going to go the way through the Events Manager, so copying the URL of the live funnel step to the Events Manager, clear the activity, paste the URL in here, open the website, close the other two tabs. We don't want to save that. And here now we notice we have our page view event, And the moment I click in one of those fields and start typing, pay attention to the events counter, so I start typing, you can see it triggered our initiate checkout event with a value of $1. This should help you especially well if you just start a new funnel and maybe even with a new pixel, so you don't have the 100 events fired within one country in the last 180 days to create a lookalike audience. Because obviously before you have 100 transactions, you will more likely achieve 100 people that at least started typing but did not complete their order. And just to be clear, that event, so that you trigger an event when somebody starts typing into your funnel's input fields or opens a pop-up by clicking on a button that is set to open pop-up, is not limited to your order forms. You can use this on any funnel step that contains input fields and track whichever event you want to track with it. It's totally up to you to decide on which funnel step it actually makes the most sense for you. However, keep in mind when we go back to CF Power Scripts that it really makes the most sense to add this specifically to your funnel step, or if you're running a split test, even to the funnel pages themselves. And on the global level, or on your funnel level to be more precise, set the script up in a way like this, where you don't track the open pop-up and the data input, but you basically just have it here so that on all your funnel steps you're also able to use those two title tags to trigger custom events as well. Now we've almost made it. The last thing left is to actually set up the Facebook conversion tracking. And for that we're going to need a combination of scripts that we'll need to set up in separate places. And we're going to start again by clicking on Add New, looking for Facebook and selecting the Facebook conversion tracking power script, which is also part of our VIP plan and not available on our free plan. So to set this up, we're going to click on it, and all we have to do here is set up where the tracking should happen. Now, if you plan to use the Facebook Conversions API as well, you have to set this to next step. It doesn't work otherwise and would cause huge issues with your tracking. If you're, however, for some reason just setting up browser-based tracking, you can pick if you want to have it on the next step or on the order confirmation page. I'm going to pick next step here, and I'm going to add script and explain in a second what's the difference. When you have the Facebook conversion tracking set to next step and a user buys something on your order form, successfully makes a payment, and then it loads the next funnel step, which in my case would be this upsell page, his purchase from the order form will be tracked on this upsell page. Now, if that user then buys the upsell as well, he goes to the order confirmation page, and the purchase from the upsell page would be tracked on the order confirmation page. If the user declines the upsell, he goes to the downsell page. If he buys the downsell, he goes to the order confirmation page, and the purchase will be tracked on the order confirmation page. And if he declines the downsell as well, he just goes to the order confirmation page and no additional tracking happens. As a result, if your funnel contains an order form and one or more OTO funnel steps after it, each visitor can technically trigger multiple purchase events. So they buy something on the order form, it's a purchase and it gets reported to Facebook. They buy one of your OTO up or downsell offers, it's a purchase, it gets reported to Facebook. However, when you set the tracking in the Facebook conversion tracking power script to order confirmation page, whatever the user then buys in the order form and all up and downsell pages will only be tracked on the order confirmation page. Here it is crucial that the page type of that funnel step is order confirmation and not thank you page, for example. You can check that by clicking on the shortcut here, clicking on Open in ClickFunnels, and it will take you to that funnel step within your ClickFunnels account, and it has to say order confirmation here. If it says thank you page or opt-in page or anything else, then the tracking will not work and you would be forced to basically recreate that funnel step and use an order confirmation page to start. I know that this is a slightly annoying aspect when you run into that issue for the first time, and it was also frustrating for me when I used ClickFunnels for the first time and had that happen to me. However, there's a reason why ClickFunnels has different page types and why you should always use the page type that reflects what you're doing on a funnel step. For example, if you're collecting email addresses, you should always use an opt-in funnel step and not a sales page. If you are creating an order form, it should always be an order page for upsells, OTO pages, and so on. There's a reason why these page types exist, and it's important that you use the right one. So if you check your funnel and you notice that you're currently misusing the page types, you'll have to recreate parts of that funnel and use the right page type to avoid any future issues or complications. Now back to CF Power Scripts. We basically have the conversion tracking here in place, which is applied to the entire funnel, but it's still missing a crucial element, and that's the so-called conversion tracking add-on. For that, we're going to click on Add New, just search for conversion, and we can find the conversion tracking add-on here, which is also part of our VIP plan. Now, the conversion tracking add-on is a script that's used by all tracking scripts. So if you want to have Facebook conversion tracking, Google Analytics or Google e-commerce conversion tracking, Google Ads conversion tracking, or any of the other conversion tracking scripts that you see here, they all require the conversion tracking add-on as well. So we're going to click on the script here, and you see that it contains a bunch of settings. However, we're adding it right now to our entire funnel. So what we do here is we simply pick our currency and we select 1 and 1 in those two fields. I'm going to explain those two fields as we proceed throughout the rest of the video. We are not going to bother to add products here, and we're going to simply click on Add Script. Now with that, we technically have Facebook conversion tracking in place. However, because of the information that is available on certain page types of your funnel, it would currently only work to track browser-based because we haven't set up the Conversions API yet. And it would only track your order form products because on up and downsell funnel steps, the page itself doesn't contain enough information about the product to actually do the tracking. So the next thing we'll have to do to improve our tracking is for every order form. So in that case, I have a two-step order form where I would need to go, a regular order form, and also for all our up and downsell pages, we'll have to go to the funnel step, and there also click on Add New, look for the conversions tracking add-on, and again, set the currency, set those two fields here to 1, and then click on Add Product. Now you will need to go to ClickFunnels, and there as well go to your funnel step. In that case, this is the order form. Head to products, and we will need to set up the products that we have here in the conversion tracking add-on. Now I'm going to quickly show you how this works for 1 or 2 products here, and then fast forward through the rest so you don't have to watch me do the same thing 6 times. And keep in mind, you will also have to do the same for all your up and downsell funnel steps. Now the first thing we need for every product is the product ID, which you can get by either right-clicking and copy the link address from the Edit button, or you could click on Edit, which would open the product dialog, and then look at the URL where you see clickfunnels.com, funnel steps, then the number here would be the funnel step ID, products, and the next number is the product ID. So you could also copy that number through the URL, but again, the faster way is simply to right-click the Edit button and click on Copy Link Address. Head back to CF Power Scripts, just paste the URL in there and click somewhere else, and it will extract the product ID from the URL. Now I have 6 products here, so I'm already going to add the right number of rows. And I'm going to quickly grab the other 5 product IDs before I walk you through the other fields as well. That's done, so we can proceed here. Now the next column that we have here would be the product name, and whatever you input here is only used in certain Power Scripts. It's not really relevant for the Facebook conversion tracking, but for example, the Google Analytics conversion tracking would use whatever name you enter here as the product name that you then see in your Google Analytics dashboard. So in my case, I'm just going to write subscription. Second one was payment plan, one-time product. Payment plan, one-time product, and those were order bump 1, order bump 2, and order bump 3. Taking us to the next column, which is the product type, where we can select if this is a one-time purchase, a subscription, a payment plan, or a trial. The difference here is when it comes to Facebook tracking, one-time purchases would be tracked as a purchase event. Subscriptions and payment plans would be tracked as a subscribe event, which then brings us to the lifetime value factor column back here, and also the default subscription and payment plan lifetime value factor up here. And if you select trial, it would be tracked as a start trial event. Keep that in mind, because when you then look at your ad campaigns in Facebook, if you track subscriptions, you won't see any data in the purchase column because you're not triggering or tracking the purchase event, but the subscribe event. So in this case, this is a subscription, this is a payment plan, this is a one-time product, and my order bumps would be one-time product, and the second one would actually be another subscription or payment plan. So one-time purchase, subscription, payment plan, which brings us to the next column, the price. While on your order form funnel steps, we technically would be able to grab all that information from the order form itself. It's better if you set it up here and if you define the price yourself. You can either configure the same price that you're actually charging your users, or maybe for some reason you want to report less revenue to Facebook, Pinterest, or whichever tracking script you put in place. I'm going to go with the actual values here, and so if we check, it's $7, 3 times $7, $97.37, so 7, 7, 97, 37, that was also $7, and the last one was $19. And just have to select the currency for all of those. Again, that currency should match the currency set up in your Facebook advertising account. And if your currency is not showing up in those pop-ups here, then please just use the Ask Us button here and submit a ticket so we can add that currency as well. The last setting we have is the lifetime value factor for each specific product. And here I want to first explain our default lifetime value factors up here. Now, the lifetime value factor in general is only relevant when we track subscription and payment plan events, because technically, if a user starts a $10 subscription or a $10 payment plan, you only made $10 right now, but you are expected to make a certain amount more. So for example, if you have a subscription that the user usually pays 12 times before they cancel, you would say the lifetime value factor is 12. So in our case, with the $7 subscription and the lifetime value factor of 12, it would tell Facebook that we just earned $7 in revenue, but are expected to make on average 12 times that amount. And the same applies to payment plans. So for example, this payment plan here consists of 3 payments of $7, but not all of the users actually make all 3 payments. So on average, we only, for example, receive 2.9 payments. So we would enter that here, and it would tell Facebook that we actually just made $7, and on average, we expect to make less than 3 times that, to be more precise, 2.9 times that. Now for our one-time purchases, it doesn't matter what we enter here, so we can just enter 1. And for this subscription, we're going to say on average the user pays 3 times, and this payment plan on average we receive 2.2 payments. Now that we've entered all that information here, the question is, why do we have the default values up here? Now those settings here are a little bit of a relic of our conversion tracking in general, because while technically we could grab the data from the order form, the moment you use the Facebook Conversions API, which we will get to later in this video, you need to have this information here filled in. So our server, when it receives the purchase event from ClickFunnels and forwards it to Facebook, also has the right information available. Now the last thing we'll have to do here for the order form is pretty much just click on Add Script, and we have our conversion tracking add-on in place. Now I'm going to quickly fast forward and do the same for my up and downsell funnel steps as well. It's literally the exact same process. You'll just have to add the conversion tracking add-on and add all the product information for whichever up or downsell products you have on that funnel step. Almost done. I finished my first OTO setup here, and I want to point out there's one more thing that you need to do with the OTO funnel steps. After you've set up the conversion tracking add-on, you can click on the shortcut here next to the funnel step pages, and if you have a split test with 2 pages here, you will need to do that for both. You can click on the shortcut, click on Open in Page Editor, and within the ClickFunnels page editor, for every button or text link that you have that is set to buy a product, so like this one is set the yes link for your OTO, you need to go to the button settings and go to the Get CSS Info hashtag icon in the bottom right corner, and there change the title to product minus ID minus the product ID that that button click will purchase. Now, technically, in most cases, your tracking would work also without that in place, but especially if you have multiple products on your order form or you use, for example, PayPal and Stripe on the same funnel step, it definitely is required. So as a rule of thumb, make sure that you do this in all cases. Better to do it and it's not needed than to forget about it and then have lack or incompleting tracking data. So again, as a reminder, the title of all your yes links and buttons has to match product minus ID minus the product ID of the product that the button will trigger, which you can conveniently then just copy from the settings that you just set up in the conversion tracking add-on. Now here it's already set up, so I don't need to change anything and can just close the window without saving. Close this, and I'm gonna quickly finish the second OTO page in that funnel before we continue. With that done, we can go back to the funnel itself, and we pretty much finished setting up the browser-based conversion tracking for the entire funnel. Now, in order to test everything, we can simply click on the shortcut here and copy the live funnel step URL of the order form, go to the Events Manager, paste in the URL here, and click on Open Website. This will take us to the order form funnel step, where I can just copy the credit card number from the top. I already filled in everything here. In most fields, I just entered a space. Just have to select the shipping country, enter the credit card number, and select all the order bumps. Now, just in case you're wondering how the pictures got in here, you can use our CF image bump power script for that. Or even better, take a look at our CF Pretty Bump power script that allows you to do even more and create even better looking order bumps. Last but not least, don't get distracted by the prices mentioned here because they do not match the actual prices. If we scroll up, we can see that we have a payment plan for $7, a $37 one-time purchase, a $7 subscription, and although it doesn't mention it here, we set this product up as a $19 payment plan. Just to remind you or to show you how we did that, we can go back to CF Power Scripts, and if we click on the order form and check the conversion tracking add-on, you can see that the last product for $19 is actually a payment plan with a 2.2 lifetime value factor. Now back to the order form. Again, we've already filled in everything, so I'm just gonna submit the order. And once we reach the OTO funnel step, we can see that it triggered the subscribe event for $33. So two $7 subscriptions or payment plans plus a $19 payment plan is $33 that we made right now and are predicted to make an entire $83.10 based on the sum of all the predicted lifetime values. And on top of that, we have a purchase event for $37 as well. We can confirm that by looking into the Events Manager. There we can see that we have our page view event for the order form. We have an initiate checkout event, which is likely still configured for an input change, so when we start typing in one of the fields. And we have our purchase event for $37, followed by our subscribe event for $33 with the predicted lifetime value, followed lastly by the page view event for the upsell page. Now we can also buy that upsell, which, if I recall it correctly, is a $97 product, which takes us to the thank you page where we can see the subscribe event for a $7 subscription. So I was mistaken here, that's our $7 subscription on the upsell page. And again, in the Events Manager, we can see the subscribe event for $7 with the predicted lifetime value and the page view of the order confirmation page. With that, we pretty much set up conversion tracking, lead tracking, and even some custom events for our entire funnel with CF Power Scripts without adding any kind of custom code into the funnel specifically. Now, the beauty of CF Power Scripts is that the way that the scripts work, they will only trigger when a user actually makes a successful purchase. So it will not happen that a user clicks on the checkout button, it fires the event, but his payment fails, so there was actually no purchase. It will also not happen that a user maybe refreshes the OTO funnel step or order confirmation funnel step and it tracks the event a second time. So you can be sure that as long as the user has tracking not disabled in his browser in some way, that you will have accurate information in your Facebook Ads Manager. Now, obviously, that's not good enough, and that's where the Facebook Conversions API comes into play. So we'll have to go back to CF Power Scripts. We're going to close that, go back to our funnel, and there simply click on Add New. Again, search for Facebook. We see the conversions API is the only script we haven't added so far. It's also part of our VIP subscription, and what we'll have to do is simply click on the script and configure a few things here. First, we'll need our pixel ID again, so we go to the Events Manager. Here we are still on our test pixel, so we go to Overview, click on the pixel ID on the right to have it copied, go back here and paste it in here. Now, just like with the regular Facebook pixel event, if you want to track multiple pixels, you would just add them comma separated like this with no spaces. In our case, we just have one pixel right now. Second, we'll need a Facebook access token, which you can also get in the Events Manager by going to Settings and scrolling down to the Conversions API section. Here you can simply click on Get Started, or if you already have that link show up here, just click on Generate Access Token, which will generate the token that you can then copy by clicking on it. Again, go back and paste it in here. Now, if you use multiple pixels, again, just like for the pixels, you would enter multiple access tokens, comma separated, and you'll need to make sure that the order matches. So your first pixel, your first access token, a comma, your second pixel, a comma here in the end, your second access token, and so on. Now, since we can also track the lead event through the API, you need to decide if you want to track it value-based or not value-based, just like with the regular Facebook lead tracking. So you need to make sure that this here actually matches what you configured in the Facebook lead tracking power script. Now, depending on if you enable the value-based lead tracking or not, you might want or should enter the currency that your Facebook ad account is in. You notice that here we already updated the interface to switch it from a drop-down to an input field. So no matter what's your currency or the currency of your ad account, you'll be able to enter it here. Now, with that, we are almost done with the settings. One thing we still need is the test event token, which is used for us to actually debug and see which server events are firing and tracked. For that, we again need the Events Manager. We need to go to the Test Events section. Here we clear our activity and we see the test server events, and this here is our test event token or code, and we can copy it. Now, you should be aware that this code changes from time to time. So for example, if you copy this code right now and in 1 or 2 days from now you want to test your events for some reason again, you would need to double check that this code is still the same, or copy it again, go back to the script and paste it in here, and you need to enable test events. Once you are done testing, it's recommended that you disable this setting. However, it has no effect on your tracking. The only difference is when this is enabled, you will see the server events in the Events Manager, and when it is disabled, you will not see them. Just because it's enabled does not exclude event from the actual pixel, so even test events still are attributed to your pixel. With that in place, we can click on Add Script. There's still one more thing we'll have to do, but it's easier if you first add the script. Then you click on the Facebook's Conversion API Script Edit button, and you can then use this link here that takes you directly to where we need to go. So you need to copy the webhook URL here, click on this link, and it will take you to the webhook sections of your funnel. You see I've already had it set up but removed it, and you will need to click on New Webhook here, paste the URL, remove all events, change the adapter to JSON, and then for events, you either can set up one webhook for contact created and purchase created, or in order to make debugging of potential issues along the way easier, you set up one webhook with contact created and create the funnel webhook, and then you create a new webhook. Again, you use the same URL. In this case now we only use the purchase created event, and again we change the last adapter input drop down to JSON and click create funnel webhook. Now this way we have two different webhooks. One will fire every time when there is a new transaction, so when a purchase is created, and one will fire every time when there is a new contact created, so when the lead event occurs. Now, there is no point in setting up an event for example, purchase cancelled or updated, because those are not user events that you want to track to Facebook. And when it comes to the contact events, you could consider also setting one up for contact updated, which would technically happen if a user opts in a second time with the same email address, but that's totally up to you. Now, in order to test our entire setup, we can start with our opt-in page. I'm going to click on the shortcut here. Again, copy the live URL funnel step, go to the Events Manager. Here I already cleared the activity, so I can just paste the URL and click on Open Website. Now you can see that we are again on our opt-in page, and I am just simply going to click the button here to opt in, which takes us to our order form funnel step, and we notice that we tracked the lead event value based with $1 sent. If we now check the Events Manager, we can see that we have two lead events. So the first one triggered by the browser with this event ID, so a combination of the time, the funnel step, and some other stuff, and another event triggered by the server with the same event ID, which got deduplicated. So Facebook only uses the browser-based event in this case because it contains more information from the user's browser. However, if the user would have prevented tracking of the lead event or tracking in general in some form, then Facebook would have still received the lead event from the server with also some additional information like first name, IP address, last name, user, agent, and so on. Now the last step we have is we have the page view event here of our order form. So we can go back to the order form. Again, we copy the credit card number. I'm going to change or select the shipping country, enter the credit card number here, and select again all three order bumps. Again, a reminder, the prices here are not the actual prices. The prices are as shown below. A payment plan with $7, a one-time purchase for $37, a $7 subscription, and a $19 payment plan that's just not labeled like a payment plan here right now. So I'm going to scroll down and submit that order. And once our OTO funnel step loads, we can see again that we have the subscribe event for $33 and the predicted lifetime value that we configured for those products, and the purchase event for $37. Now in the Events Manager, we can see that we have our subscribe event here, once triggered in the browser and once triggered in the server, so by the Conversions API, and that the event has been deduplicated. And the same for the purchase event, where first our browser integration tracks the purchase event and then our Conversions API integration reports the same event again. So in case the user prevents the tracking in the browser, there would be no deduplication and Facebook would still receive the data based on the server-side event. Now, when you're testing your own integration, don't forget that once you're done, you should head back to CF PowerScript and edit the Conversions API script and disable test events. So set this to no. And also on occasion, you might see a yellow exclamation mark here, which would indicate a warning or error. And sometimes in my tests, I received completely irrelevant errors, like for example, travel class not set, which would only be relevant if we would be reporting things like hotel or plane ticket purchases, which seems to indicate that the test screen that Facebook has here is not always 100% accurate. Two other things I want to quickly point out is number one, you should check after setting everything up for at least a week on daily basis the diagnostics section. If you forgot to remove any of your custom code events that you had before using CF PowerScripts, or if there's any other kind of issue, it would show up here, and you should then simply take a screenshot of the issue. Also pay attention, there's going to be an information about when the issue was first and last detected, so also take a screenshot of that information and simply open a ticket at our support so we can look into this. And last but not least, when you use the Conversion API for quite some time, you will see the event match quality here, which should be around 8 out of 10. Now with ClickFunnels, it's impossible to achieve 10 out of 10 simply because our code can only react to what ClickFunnels sends us, and we don't have access to ClickFunnels servers directly. So there is no way that we can use the Conversion API for all kind of events. ClickFunnels only offers webhooks for purchases and contacts, so we simply lack the option to, for example, track the page view event through the Conversion API, or other events like initiate checkout, add to cart, and so on. That's why we are unable to achieve a quality ranking of 10 out of 10. However, 8 out of 10 should already be more than sufficient, and the conversions API tracking should already improve your tracking quality dramatically, especially nowadays where more and more users are using ad blockers, or where companies like Apple with iOS 14 make it harder to track users with regular pixels. Now, as always, thanks for watching, and even more so, thanks for using CF PowerScripts. Don't forget, if you have any questions whatsoever, you can always just reach out to us by clicking on the support button in the bottom right corner of your CF PowerScripts account, or leaving a comment down below. See you in one of our other tutorials. Till then, bye-bye.